everyone. Thanks for tuning in today. We're going to be talking about bad behavior. Essentially, bad behavior that we do at work because we don't like our jobs. I see it all the time. I see it every day. Where that bad behavior starts to creep into your regular life or the other parts of your life, because, of course, work is a regular part of your life. It's almost a third of where you are in life and how you spend your time. And of course, bad behavior anywhere can leak into the rest of your life. So let's start with that in mind. So when I was young, I first started working, I won a lot of awards. I worked extremely hard. I was probably the hardest working person you've ever seen in your life for making $3.15. And that's probably not entirely true. I'm sure there are many people out there that work extremely hard, especially at their first job. I know $3.15 doesn't sound like a lot, and it wasn't a lot of money back then. I worked at a grocery store, and that was the minimum wage at the time. But at $3.15, it was a lot of money to me. Work 4 or 6 hours a day, get that $18 for 6 hours of work, and then I think we got a 10-minute break. But anyways, it was extremely hard work, and I continued that even at the time. And sometimes, I did notice that other people were making a lot more than me. I think the cashiers were making around $12 an hour, $12 to $14 an hour. Some of them have been working there 30 years. So I think those folks were making over $14 an hour. And here I was working 3 hour, for $3.15 an hour, and I would be sweating. I was working so hard. I would be sweating profusely. At times, I would have to spend money on my break to buy a Gatorade and to keep me going. But anyways, I bring this up because there's eventually. It would take a few years, but eventually this hard-working habit that I had would start to break, and it was because of some circumstances at work. I felt that even though I was still working hard, and at the time I'd won several awards for being a good employee, but even though all these things happened, I was promoted to a position, and almost immediately, within a few months, they wanted to fire me from my position because we had a new manager, and he had someone he wanted to promote in my position. So because of that, because of his desire to promote someone he knew to the position I had, he wanted to fire me, even though I was an extremely hard worker. There were other positions for whatever reason, and he didn't understand it. She already worked with me as in a lower position, but she wanted to work in that position because she wanted to work with me. So when she asked him to work with me, he didn't understand. To work in my department, he didn't understand that it was because she wanted to work with me, and he wanted to fire the person that she wanted to work with. But that's really, I guess, tangential to the story. But so this kind of broke me for years. Actually, I stopped working as hard as I once would. I just, I felt bitter about the situation. Eventually, the situation passed, and they were no longer trying to fire me. Looking back at it, I wish I had just quit, because eventually I started to develop some bad habits because of the situation, because of my bitterness, and that started to leak into the rest of my life. I wasn't putting as much effort into the rest of my life either. I just sort of laid around and listened to music all day long. I didn't do much. Occasionally go out and like I said, it was just a bad situation I let myself stay in. I wasn't making a tremendous amount of money, so I could have left and probably found something much, much better, at least money-wise. But it was convenient to stay, as it always is. It's almost always convenient to stay where you're at. Certainly takes the least amount of effort. But I let that bitterness lead to bad habits, and they definitely leaked into the rest of my life. And that's what I want you to think about today. I wanted you to think about your job, and if you're developing bad habits at your job, because for whatever reason, over time there's always going to be a reason to be upset at your job. For most people, it's just the routine. You know, if you're treated like a princess at work all the time, the one time you're not, you're going to complain. If you are doing a great job all the time, the one time you're not recognized, it might lead to some complaints, some bitterness. You're not always going to be the winner at work, and that's okay, and that's something we all have to realize. But it can lead to some bitterness. In today's society in the United States, most jobs, you're not paid based on performance. Unfortunately, you're paid for showing up, and for showing up over the years. Your benefits might be benefits including days off, including time off, might be based on, you know, your FMLA status, your years at work, you know, and unfortunately who you know at work, amongst other things. So there are reasons to complain. There are reasons that you might feel justified in allowing yourself to fall into some bad habits. You might be surrounded by people who don't work hard, and you might feel that, you know, you might feel like you're the fool for working hard. That's another way you can fall into these habits. Think that somehow these folks are getting one over on you. But hard work is a reward in upon itself. But you have to take that hard work. If you're not getting the rewards you deserve at work, which may happen, take a realistic look at it. Are you receiving benefits for this hard work that you may not be acknowledging? Perhaps you're doing work that's preferential. Perhaps you're doing work that you're learning from. You're getting something out of it that you may not acknowledge as being a benefit. Perhaps you're good at computers and you find yourself being the only one who is put on computers all the time. Well, that's might be a benefit that you can take advantage of later in life as far as pay is concerned, or just interest, some interesting work. A lot of times at work, for the people who are not interested, we give them the most boring jobs, it seems. They find themselves doing the least amount, which on a survival instinct sort of situation, you find yourself maybe wanting to do the least amount at work as possible. Another bad habit, because eventually you're not able to do a lot when that's the case. You know, if think of it as training. Think of work as training. If you train hard every day, you will get better at work. You'll be better no matter where you wind up working. If you leave that place you're working, or you get promoted or anything, you will be able to work and work hard. But if you don't work hard, if you're not training yourself to do better all the time, if the opportunity presents itself where you need to work hard and get benefits, you won't be able to. You won't be able to snap your fingers and suddenly be the person who can work 5 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours straight without taking a long, unwarranted break. So think about these things. Think about your habits at work. You can think about your habits in all of your life, but right now, think about your habits at work. Think about how you feel about work, and if these things are leading to bad habits, and what you need to do to correct them. If you need to challenge yourself, if your work is extremely dull, challenge yourself. Challenge yourself in a way to make it not boring anymore. That might be the challenge. How can you make what you're doing not boring? morning. That might mean leaving. That might mean searching for another job. That might mean taking on a creative enterprise on the side so that you can develop better habits. And it will take time. If you've been in a bad habit situation for a long time, it can be deeply ingrained, and it may take months, years for you to get out of it. There's times I look back and I swear if I didn't let myself get into these bad habits, I wound up spending 4 years ingraining bad habits into myself because of one bad situation. And it was difficult to pull out of that. It was very, very difficult. It took years to pull out of that bad situation, pull out those bad habits. So today, take a look at your habits. Make sure that they're good at work. Make sure that you're getting the most out of yourself, out of your time at work. I thank you very much.